going on? Welcome back to another episode. We got Jay here. Nice to see you again. And also, we got Brandon in the house.
What's going on, guys?
Hope everyone's doing well. Today's topics, let's talk about something really cool. Uber is now letting California drivers know estimated fare and, even more important, your end destination before you even accept a trip. We're going to be talking about some data insights that we've gotten through our data about when is the best time to earn in December coming up, and also some fun facts and not so fun facts all in today's episode. So make sure you guys watch it all the way through.
Yeah, for sure. I think we should kick it off with just kind of a really interesting development coming out of California with how Uber is treating drivers. That on the face is really awesome for drivers. We can see the exact destination of a pickup or of a ride before that ride is accepted, and you can see a pretty rough estimate of the fare. So giving drivers, at least in California, a lot of choice back, which is pretty cool.
And this is what drivers have been wanting for the longest time. Now, if you're watching this, you're driving, let us know. Is this something that you've been wanting for a long time? Is this something that you're glad to hear happen, at least in California? In my opinion, Brandon, I feel like Uber should have done this from the get-go, which is given drivers the ability to see end destination. Because you're an independent contractor, why wouldn't you be afforded that knowledge, that information? You don't know how much you're making, you don't know where you're driving, and that directly relates to your cost too. I mean, if you don't know this is 300 miles away, mileage counts as cost. And I think this is a direct response to AB5. Uber is realizing that maybe we should give information to the independent contractors that makes them more defined as independent contractors because of all of the politics rolling around right now in California.
Yeah, definitely. I think they so with AB5, to get into the weeds just a tiny bit, with AB5, they have to basically pass these ABC tests, right? So tests to be an independent contractor. And I think this is what this does. And pretty clearly, this is just a response in order to just make sure that drivers appear and almost are acting at arm's length, right? So to make sure that they are, qualified to be employees. I think it's pretty obvious why you see it only happening in California. And I think that we all know that Uber doesn't do anything, just out of the goodness of their hearts. Everything is going to be about, hey, where is Uber making more money? So I think it's pretty clear, this is a pretty direct response to Uber or to AB5 that is, yes, happening just in California, but also drivers around the country should be paying attention to this, because this is the type of thing that as these rideshare advocacy groups start to put pressure on Uber, Lyft, start to put pressure on the government, these are the type of things you're going to be starting to see rolling out across the country, which is another, that in itself is a win, is a win. It's a small win for drivers, but it is a win. I think they'll just start to pile up as you see Uber get its back against the wall a little bit.
It is a win. I completely agree. It's a small victory, and it's a step in the right direction. It just seems like we're not going anywhere with this, because we started so behind. We started so negative. We started with just all of these policies, like you said, were implemented to benefit Uber. And I can speak a little bit to why I think that they didn't give drivers for the longest time end destination or estimated fare of the trip. For instance, if you get a trip that is estimated payout $2 on a surge, you're probably not going to accept it. If you get a trip that is 300 miles east of the river, you're probably not going to accept it. And the reason why they do this is to maintain their network reliability. All Uber cares about is how fast a paying customer, a passenger, gets their next driver, their next match. The faster you match a paying customer with a driver, the more reliable your service is, the more likely that customer is to come back on your platform and use it again. And in the industry, we call this lifetime value. All Uber is doing is increasing lifetime value, increasing the value of the product. And therefore, over the long term and over an extreme, a huge number of paying customers, they're increasing their bottom line. So it was all about network reliability. It was all about making sure drivers don't cancel and making sure passengers get the most reliable ride. And like I always say, passengers' interests and Uber's interests, I don't think it coincides exactly with drivers' interests. I feel like the levers are antagonistic. So again, a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. I think, small step. I think one thing you gotta always keep in mind with like Uber is that it is basically like the whole rideshare industry, which is built for billions and billions upon at this point. It just started like 10 years ago, so there are going to be pretty big fluctuations and kind of market reactions and to like a lot of these different things. I think this is just like one step in probably a pretty long process of Uber and Lyft and any big TNC kind of making some adjustments there. Mm-hmm. So good stuff to see. Definitely a reaction to AB5. Going to be more not just in California but around the country.
We could talk a little bit about our own network of users on Gridwise. I think now we are almost breaking. Actually, we might have broken 90,000 monthly active users.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what our numbers are, but we definitely, the Gridwise network of drivers definitely building, which is awesome. Kind of a cool thing that allows us to do is get like some really interesting data around how much drivers are making in like certain periods of time, which is cool just to kind of see, but also kind of helps as a driver. You can kind of focus your time if you're noticing, hey, everyone's making a ton of money on this day, this day. And then so one of the things that we saw, actually, so obviously in November, Thanksgiving, but also big week overall was kind of that Thanksgiving week because of 2 days, Black Wednesday and Black Friday, right? And Black Wednesday was that day where you had basically that's where people just go out and get drunk, right? Mm-hmm. So every day that people go out and get drunk, it's going to be a great day for rideshare drivers.
Guilty as charged.
Were you getting drunk or were you driving?
Getting not one and the other, one or the other. No, I was just drinking.
So yeah, going to be a big day for rideshare drivers whenever that happens. Our data shows that drivers made about 20% more that day, which is super interesting to see. So was a huge day for drivers Black Wednesday, and a couple of big days coming up would be in December. Actually, I think the second weekend of December. So coming up, like in a couple of days here, I think it's going to be the 13th, 14th, and 15th that weekend. So that Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Last year, that was one of the biggest weekends of the year for drivers.
And this is over like tens of thousands of sample sets.
Yep, drivers on average made about 28% more that weekend than any other day throughout the year.
So little mathematics lesson to anybody watching this. The greater your sample size, the greater the amount of individual data sets that you have, the more strong your conclusion for that data is in the land of mathematics. So get 28% more, and that's a lot of data points we got on that.
Yep. So definitely a day to get out there and drive. Like this upcoming week. This upcoming weekend, get out there and drive. Check Gridwise. Do a little shameless plug here. Check Gridwise. See what events are going on. Make sure that you're around like hot spots. It's gonna be surging. So get out there, take advantage of that.
Yeah, so that's our greatest tip that we have for all of our listeners right now. The majority of you listening to this podcast, we're watching it on our YouTube, are Gridwise drivers. So we are giving back to the driver community with the data insights that our volunteers have voluntarily given to us. And data has shown that, hey, what Brandon said, the coming few weeks in December, more likely to make the most money this year. 28% more. So use that knowledge to the best of your ability. Use that knowledge to empower your driving.
Yes, and a couple other kind of interesting facts that you can hopefully use to empower yourself as drivers. We did like a survey a couple weeks ago. Surveyed a couple hundred drivers, asked them a couple different questions. One of them was about has anyone ever gotten sick and made a little bit of a mess in your vehicle? And a little bit to my surprise, 36% of drivers said yes, that has happened to them. And this is just kind of like ever. So, drivers that have been driving 2 years, they might have had it happen once. But it has happened to 36% of drivers according to our data.
It's happened to me twice, and out of 1,000 trips. So less than 0.2, or basically 0.2%. And the thing is, they didn't get sick in my car, they got sick outside of my car. So
so they didn't, okay, so that's not that bad.
No. They didn't actually throw up in my car. They threw up outside. But
So
it
I
has
think
happened to me where people have gotten sick in my car during a rideshare trip. Twice.
Yeah, so I think it's just interesting that, I mean, I would think it happens a little bit less than 36%, or, I mean, I would think it would happen a little bit less than 36% of drivers out there that have had that happen. But just kind of just goes to show you got to be ready.
Yeah, because I mean, as a passenger myself, I've never gotten sick in a car, so to me, 36% sounds high. But then driving, 1,000 Uber rides and having 2 people get sick in my car, I guess it kind of is the counter argument to that. Wasn't there another statistic? The fender bender one. How many drivers got in an accident?
Yeah, so we asked that same subset of drivers, how many of you have gotten in an accident while driving? 20% of them have said yes. Not we said fender bender, so it's kind of like a minor accident. 20% said yes, which again I actually thought was super high.
Me too.
It's interesting. One interesting thing to note about that. Uber did like their sexual harassment. Well, it was more of a safety report. The big thing about that was like all about like the sexual harassment stuff, which is important. But one of the things that was actually interesting in it was a stat about the number of fatal accidents and the Uber average, like their like per mile, like fatality per mile or per 100,000 miles. I think it was actually like half the national average, which goes to show that like that drivers are generally a much safer drivers than the general public.
Yeah.
It's still interesting to see though that 20% of drivers are still getting into at least these minor fender benders.
Yeah, I wonder if there's a hidden variable in that data set. I wonder if because most Uber rides happen within the city and not on the highway, that has maybe something to do with the lower fatality because you're not traveling as fast.
Yeah, I would assume so.
Speed is correlated to fatalities. That's actually something we can. I'm throwing it up there for thought.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think definitely the fact that drivers and really this is across just like the Uber set in general, right? Like Uber drivers generally are driving more in urban areas than non-urban areas. So yeah, you're going to be driving lower speeds, like. Everything's going to be a fender bender, as opposed to kind of like a fatal accident, right? So I think that would make sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So awesome insights from the data. We talked a little about earnings. If you guys like these kind of data insights, please let us know in the comment section. Press like right now. Go to our YouTube, subscribe, press like. Depending on how well this video does, we're going to gauge the effectiveness of this kind of message. So if you guys really want to see more data insights, maybe next time we'll pull our data scientist. We have a data scientist. We'll pull him on the show, give you even more insights onto earnings and best time to drive, predictions. If you want to see this stuff, let us know by thumbs upping this content, by leaving comments, by sharing with your friends, and by subscribing, because we keep track of these metrics.
Cool. I think that's it. I think that's all we got for today.
Yo, everybody stay safe on the roads. Happy holidays.
So you guys know we will be back before.
We will be back with another episode. Oh, and one last thing. We are actually a podcast now, right, Brandon?
We are. So you should probably see down below. There's links to like Spotify and Apple Music or wherever the heck else we are.
Yeah, so if you don't want to watch.
So, yeah, if you're down in the comments talking shit about how we're not a podcast, we are officially a podcast now.
We are a podcast now. All right, guys. Peace out.